So, Scotland. There we have it, Scotland. And if you go up to the very top of Scotland, you can see the islands of Orkney, and above Orkney you have Shetland, and in between the Orkney and the Shetland Islands there's a tiny, tiny, tiny little island. We still haven't got it. Here we have it. There it is. That little dot. Here it comes into. Here it comes. This is the Fair Isle, ladies and gentlemen. The Fair Isle of Scotland. Way, 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 way up north. Now I'll pan out so that you can get an idea of where that is. There, we've got Norway next to it. Right, here we get it right. Now, when the ships used to go over to the Americas, they would come up and round, and at this little island of Fair Isle, they would stop and they would get supplies, and especially supplies like water and woolens for the trip. Now, the woolens were knitted by the women of the Fair Isle. Now, these woolens I'm showing you now are Fair Isle patterns, which have been knitted by my wife Ineke. She knits quite a lot, as you can see, and you can see that the patterns themselves, they reflect the actual landscape of Scotland. Now, look at these little mittens, for example. The landscape of Scotland, you can see the greens and the pinks of the rocks and the yellow barley. Yellow barley, which goes to make whisky, like this NcNean Whisky from the northwest of Scotland, made by Annabel Thomas and her great team. There we have a slip over. Look at that now, eh? Is that not something? Look, here are the arms of a new jumper or a cardigan that Ineke is making just now. Here we have the wool. Beautiful, beautiful colours. And there we have NcNean's box. Look at that. Isn't that something, eh? Wow. I just love it. Sheep on a beanie. Scotland is celebrated and the Fair Isle the world over. Now, I'll just ask Ineke a couple of questions. If I can find her. Here she is. Here's the lovely Ineke, sitting knitting. Now, what are you knitting just now, Ineke?
This is the body, and I've already knitted the sleeves. This is going to be a cardigan, and I'm doing it the traditional way.
Yes.
Knitting it in the round, but it's, if you can come closer, you can see I've knitted some extra stitches here. And later on I will cut through this and make buttonholes here, so this will be a cardigan.
Wow.
And you can also see it's, because of all these colors, it's knitted double, and that's why it's very warm. And Shetland in the winter is dark for a long time. The sun goes down around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So I can understand they want cheery colours to cheer them up.
Wow, and tell me a little bit, you know a little bit about the Antarctic expedition.
Yes, in 1901 I think, Scott went to the Antarctic, and the men wore garments knitted by people from Fair Isle. And James Coates from Paisley, he was a textile manufacturer, and he commissioned the people to make sweaters and especially underwear. And of course in these days you didn't just go to the shop to buy wool, but these people had to go and shear sheep and spin the wool themselves, dye it, and of course they used the plants from the island
Yes.
to dye the wool. And well, I think they did all that, knitted all these garments for about 100 people in under a year, so that was quite an accomplishment. And I think knitting is a very special craft passed on through the generations. And like the making of whiskey, it's a craft, and you can see in your whiskey that you've shown that all these botanicals are used in that whiskey as well. So the plants used for dyeing wool, and plants used for making drinks as well, spirits.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ineke, for telling us about that. We'll just have a wee pan over another wee look at some of our knitting again. There we have it. Look at that beautiful knitwork. Now, some people think this is only for old people, but I can tell you, it's becoming more and more appreciated by the young. Look at these colours, so beautiful and absolutely well for outdoors and cold weather. Beautiful stuff. Look at this. All knitted by Ineke that I'm showing you just now.